Furiosa, the next film in the Mad Max series, and believe it or not, Mad Max is actually in this, but literally for 5 seconds. So it's not about Mad Max, it's about Furiosa, who happened to be the main character along with Mad Max, although she was probably the star in the Fury Road film, the one that George Miller made before this. And of course, this did not live up to expectations as far as money goes and box office, so there's a lot of grumbling. And one of the grumblings is, do we even need a prequel? Do we even need to know who Furiosa is? But when I saw the first trailers of this film, I was fired up. And I said, yes, we do need to know. This one-armed lady who's got a mechanical arm, shaved hair, risks everything to get these brides into a truck to send them to or take them to a place that she may not even know exists yet. I want to know what makes this lady tick. So, of course, I want to see what this lady's backstory is. And let me tell you something, this film did not disappoint. All right, there was some more grumbling that Charlize Theron was not going to play this Furiosa this time for the prequel. And that kind of makes sense because this is it's a younger character, so you want to probably get somebody that matches the age, even though we have a lot of de-aging. I don't like the de-aging at all. It makes them just look like there's a computer messed them up. And I think Anya Taylor-Joy was probably a bit miscast. She's a little bit smaller. She doesn't have the heft in this crazy world that George Miller invented. I would think she would get crushed, but that only lasted maybe about 2 minutes. She's a great actress. She got into the role and she just went with the story, and I went with the story, and this movie rocks. Now, if you're familiar with the Mad Max series, pretty much all the movies before this are under the same formula with the exception of probably the original. The original told the original story of Mad Max and why this guy is mad. But the movies after that are basically a paint-by-the-numbers action thriller. Mad Max finds himself in a situation. He offers his services to those around him to get them out of that situation. There's a desert chase that's action-packed. And finally, Mad Max is able to win the day and go on his way. That's been the formula for all these films up until now. Now it's Furiosa's story, and it's Furiosa who's telling it. And George Miller kind of changed his style of storytelling also. And I can tell probably why this is not a big crowd pleaser. This is more of a fairy tale than a action thriller. And when I talk about fairy tales, I'm not talking about Snow White was actually kind of dark. But the Frozen fairy tales, I'm not talking about the happy-go-lucky. I'm talking about the Brother Grimms and what they were doing back in the 1700s, where people were getting killed, where little kids were getting eaten alive, where there was just no holds bar in these fairy tales. Maybe to teach a lesson or whatever to kids, but they were brutal. And there's no lesson here, but the story of her origins, Furiosa, are kind of brutal. And I can see why this world kind of turns some viewers away. But this is George Miller's mind. This is his world. I love it. The imagination between this filmmaker is phenomenal. And this rocks. Different story than Fury Road, but this quality film, the visuals, the sound, everything is worth it. And if you missed it at the theater, I missed Fury Road in the theater, but I was going to get this in the theater. I got it. I loved it. And, it's still going to try to make its money back. But remember what Fellini said when he wrote 8.5. Part of a producer's job is to lose money. And they may lose money on Furiosa, but we need this film to exist.